Tonight, concerns raised over the price of flight costs into regional Australia, and farmers gather for the annual Heartfield Day Walk near Clare.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. The Australian Airports Association is demanding more transparency from airlines around the pricing of domestic flights in regional Australia. It says the price tags for some destinations are shrouded in secrecy.
As the owner of Port Augusta's Eco Motel, Alan McMahon hears all too often the horror stories of tourists forking out thousands of dollars to fly to regional locations.
For example, they can get almost to Europe and back, or they can definitely do a holiday to Bali and back.
The hefty price tag of airfares to Adelaide from regional locations such as Broken Hill, Whyalla and Port Augusta said to be forcing more and more people onto our roads.
They're quite expensive. If they were cheaper, more people would take that option.
The Australian Airports Association is hearing similar concerns all over the country and says regional residents are frustrated they don't know what they're paying for.
Regional airfares really are quite high, and we need more transparency on what actually goes into the price of an airfare.
It says airline bosses were tight-lipped when asked about these issues at a Senate inquiry and is now calling for a further investigation to force these companies to reveal any hidden truths.
How airlines are setting airfares, what sort of profit they're taking from regional Australians when you book a flight.
A further probe could eventually lead to lower flight prices, and Port Augusta locals believe a cheaper travel option could encourage more tourism and business to regional South Australia.
No doubt if flights were cheaper, there would be more people flying and using them.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
GFG Alliance is preparing to donate 140 tonnes of steel for the development of the new Whyalla jetty, while the clean-up from last week's fire gets underway.
The next stage of preparations. These locally made metal elements will soon be Whyalla's new jetty.
We're loading some of the first steel for the new council jetty here at our dispatch site here at Liberty Primary Steel.
The new jetty is a unique design, which is hoped to attract tourists to the region, and by donating the steel, GFG will be following in the footsteps of BHP.
Back in the day, the original jetty was built by BHP, but now the kind of legacy continues where we've got GFG steel as a key component of this amazing jetty.
Local steel workers is making this world-class steel, which is contributing to a unique world-class project in the jetty, and it's right here in Whyalla.
Council says this donation is a step forward in the development process, in the wake of last week's setback where a fire was started from work being undertaken on the old jetty.
The issue was dealt with really professionally and efficiently, but going forward, this is a sign that construction is going full steam ahead.
Meanwhile, maritime construction workers will continue to pick up molten plastic found here on Whyalla's foreshore from last week's jetty fire. The council say that it's going to be an ongoing clean-up process. The new jetty is estimated to finish mid-next year and is estimated to cost $7.8 million. Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The state government is confident there won't be any blackouts over the coming months, despite a recent report advising South Australians to prepare for the worst in peak summer periods. The Energy Minister is now implementing new plans to prevent any disasters.
As temperatures heat up and people use more energy to stay cool, the threat of blackouts always lingers.
Every summer is a challenge, there's no doubt about it.
A report released last month by the National Energy Market Operator identified a number of states, including South Australia, may be prone to blackouts in the hottest summer periods. The state government not overly confident.
We look okay for this summer. Not good, but okay.
Data shows the 3-hour period between 4:30pm and 7:30pm is when the network is the most strained. The government's now implementing new strategies to minimise any potential outages, including undertaking maintenance of energy infrastructure, putting extra generation into the market, as well as the last resort option of the recently sold diesel generators.
We'll do everything we possibly can to avoid any load shedding.
Last summer was one of South Australia's hottest on record, but the state saw no major power lapses. The opposition thinks the backup generators will keep residents safe from the dreaded blackouts this summer, but says it holds grave fears for the following years.
We're going to see another sale of our generators, which is going to make us, in the summer of 2021, a lot more vulnerable.
Residents are reminded to do their bit to ease pressure on the grid, such as turning off unused power sources and regulating indoor temperatures. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Hundreds of farmers have converged on the Hartfield site in the mid-north for their annual field day. Growers from across the region arrived in droves to hear from key figures within the agricultural industry.
No field left unturned. Farmers from across South Australia marched their way onto the Hartfield site, eager to get a taste of what's to come this spring.
Basically, we have probably in excess of 600 people that rock up today.
The field trial event also said to be one of the biggest in the country, providing farmers with direct contact to some of the country's leading agronomists. The turn of the season also an important time to see how trial sites compare.
Things are really starting to develop, so we can actually see where the trials have got to, and you can visually, see where what varieties are standing out.
For many farmers, it's a great opportunity to do a bit of window shopping.
Catching up on new varieties and mostly, I think, what's out there and what's coming in that's new.
The day also a chance to showcase some of the more durable varieties in the wake of the recent drought. The Hartfield site experiencing 140 mils of rain for the growing season, well below average.
We're drying off like everyone, but hopefully we'll see it out to the end.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A strain of Kalichi virus has been released in Port Lincoln in a bid to control the town's feral rabbit population. The Natural Resource Department releasing the deadly rabbit virus along the Pankala walking trail. Rabbit owners are being warned to ensure their animals are vaccinated against the disease. The council is set to install warning signs along the area in the coming weeks. Still to come tonight, a family struggle to reach specialist medical treatment, renewing calls for more regional doctor visits, and a palliative care doctor in Broken Hill wins a prestigious national award. Welcome back. An Eyre Peninsula mother has told of her struggles and frustration with South Australia's healthcare system. The family has been forced to travel over 8 hours to Adelaide every 3 months just so her son can receive vital treatment.
Fed up and frustrated over South Australia's healthcare system, Michelle Nusky says a backlog in appointments and limited specialists forced her and her son to travel more than 700 kilometres for crucial treatment.
When we rang up for an appointment, they said there was going to be, we had to wait a month and a half or something, and then there was just a backlog of people.
3 years ago, Josh was a bright and bubbly teenager, and like most teenagers, he suffered from acne. It wasn't until his skin quickly deteriorated that the alarm was raised.
He just had really bad acne, and we were worried about scarring, and the only treatments around really is medication, and to get that you need to go to a dermatologist.
Currently, there's no full-time dermatologist here in the Eyre Peninsula, the region relying on a part-time specialist who flies in from Adelaide several times a year.
With skin conditions like that, you don't have time to wait.
The family forced to leave their farm to make the journey to Adelaide, with Josh taking time off school.
It's been 3 years of treatments back and forth to Adelaide every 3 months. He's been on Roaccutane to help his skin.
Since beginning his treatment, Josh's skin has begun to clear, leaving him with some minor scarring. Josh's doctor, Rachel Manifold, says his early diagnosis helped improve the chances of his skin healing.
Early diagnosis is always beneficial because some things can move quite rapidly. So the earlier we get to see a patient, the more quickly we can intervene for things like acne to prevent scarring.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A palliative care doctor based in Broken Hill has received a national award for her work with the service. Dr Sarah Wenham says she's honoured to receive the recognition, dedicating it to the team she's a part of.
A humble winner thrilled to be nominated. Dr. Sarah Wenham joined the Far West Health District in 2012. Since moving to the region, her contribution to palliative care has been felt locally, statewide and even nationally.
Really heralded a change of how we provide palliative care, and particularly specialist medical palliative care across the district.
Her work has been recognised at the 2019 Palliative Care Awards Night in the rural and remote category. She says the sad reality of life is people do die, but supporting those in their final stages of their life is very important.
Support them physically with their symptoms, emotionally, psychologically, allow them to be cared for and to live the best that they could for whatever time they had possible.
Saying the award is not for her, but the incredible Far West palliative care team.
We just have to acknowledge that everybody that gives of themselves and gives over and above what's expected in order to provide care for our patients and their families. So, yeah, definitely a team award.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The federal government's mobile service centre is making its way across the Eyre Peninsula this month as part of its regional tour. Medicare registrations, Centrelink and support services will be made available to rural and isolated towns. Setting up shop in Streaky Bay today, the bus will travel to Elliston tomorrow before going to Tumby Bay on Thursday. For more information, visit the government website. Whyala's Sunrise Christian School has welcomed a donation of more than $2,000 to go towards its horticultural program. The school says it's an opportunity for students to plant, grow and harvest seasonal vegetables.
It was a generous offer that they just, if without that we couldn't have had this project started.
Wonderful experience for them. It's in addition to the normal curriculum and the development is that you see in all of the students is wonderful.
The funds were donated from the Whyalla Rotary Club. The Copper Coast's newest tourist attraction is preparing to open its doors to lovers of putt-putt golf. An 18-hole miniature golf course is set to keep local families entertained over the next school break.
Kadeena's latest tourist attraction might just be a hole-in-one. The green carpet has been rolled out for the new 18-hole course, which is edging closer to completion.
Well, we're really pleased to have another tourist attraction in the Copper Coast area. So this is the Copper Coast Putt-Putt.
The project came into full swing after the community received a $140,000 government grant through the Fund My Neighbourhood initiative in 2017. Locals voting to put the funding into something fun for the town's community. From goalposts, bike tyres to jetty pylons, there's plenty of obstacles to overcome.
It'll be challenging for people, but it's something that you can do if you're here on holidays. It's not a really nice beach day and you're looking for something to do. You can come up and play.
Council says it hopes to see the new addition to the Visitors Centre's grounds draw in more foot traffic.
I'm really hoping that it will encourage people to visit the museum because it is a really comprehensive display in there.
The course's grand opening set to take place on Friday the 27th of September at 2:30. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break, a wrap up of all the local sport, and we'll have the weather details with Britt. Hello again. To sport now, and a number of our local netball seasons came to a close on the weekend, with some new champions being crowned. Here's Patrick Reinke with a wrap-up.
There were some cracking games played across the 5 local netball grand finals over the weekend. A few came right down to the wire. Starting in the northern areas, Southern Flinders had a slightly comfortable win over Broughton Mundura, the scoreline 52-44. It was a lot closer in the Great Flinders A-grade matchup, a nail-biter between Tumby Bay and Cummins Kapini. Tumby just managed to break away in the dying moments to get the win. Sarah Southern was named best on court. In the York Peninsula, Tamara Lodge led her side Moonta to an 8-goal win over CMS Crows, Moonta's E-grade girls sharing a photo with the senior premiers. Roosters. Imperial caused a massive upset in Port Lincoln, defeating Wayback by 2 goals. Wayback went through the entire season undefeated and even smashed Imperial in the first semi-final just 2 weeks ago. Lastly, in Port Augusta, St Joseph's won the day over Railways. 2 goals to Leon Dunn saw South Coast defeat Lincoln Knights in the Port Lincoln Soccer Grand Final. Defender Glenn Thompson also snuck up forward, scoring his first and only goal for the season. In Broken Hill, St Joe's will play West in this weekend's Grand Final after beating Celtic. Savoy finished their season in the SA Amateur League with a 5-3 win over Southern Knights. And finally in Whyalla, Wanderers won the league, finishing their season with a 4-3 win over Westlands. That does it for local sport for this week.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt.
Good evening. We've had a mostly sunny day about the region today. Port Augusta reached a top of 21 degrees, Port Pirie 20, Whyalla 19, Port Lincoln, Broken Hill and Adelaide all 17. From the satellite we can see fairly clear skies over the Gulf due to a broad region of high pressure. Moving on to tomorrow now, with strong winds expected on the Gulf waters, northeasterly at 20 to 25 knots, swells to 1.5 metres, and the sun will rise just after 6:15 in the morning. We can expect mostly sunny conditions about the region, with maximums creeping up to 6 degrees above average. Woodner looking at a top of 29 degrees, Port Augusta and Whyalla 27, Port Pirie and Cleve 26, Corn 25, a top of 24 at Port Lincoln, Coffin Bay, Kadina and Adelaide, 21 expected at Broken Hill. Moving further through the week now, with stronger winds expected on Thursday, Port Lincoln looking at a top of 27, down to 16 on Friday with showers expected. Cleve warming into the 30s on Thursday, dropping back to 16 on Friday, also expecting a shower or two. Woodnut looking stormy on Thursday with strong winds and rain forecast. Partly cloudy Friday and Saturday. Whyalla and Port Augusta both looking hot and windy on Thursday, expected tops of 35 degrees. Cooler conditions with showers on Friday ahead of a partly cloudy start to the weekend. Much the same at Kadina. Port Pirie and Clare both with hot, dry winds on Thursday ahead of rain on Friday. And finally to Broken Hill with a partly cloudy day on Thursday and showers expected on Friday. And with that, Louise, it's back to you.
Thank you for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining us today. We'll have updates later, as always, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.